We have a standing offer here at accesstv.org to any individual who's running for public office serving the city of Hartford, Connecticut, and the greater Hartford community, that if they would like, we will give them up to 30 minutes to talk a little bit about who they are and why they want to serve the constituents of Hartford, Connecticut. So joining us is James Sanchez. He is a city councilman serving the city of Hartford in his second term, and he is a candidate for state representative in a special election serving the 6th district, and he will be taking the over the seat of Edwin Vargas, who resigned last month to take a job at the Central Connecticut State University. So I will ask him a few questions, and this is an offer that we extend to anyone that's running for office. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule, Councilman Sanchez. And why don't we start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and why you want to run.
Well, good morning, everyone, and good morning, Stan. Thank you for inviting me here today. So those of you who don't know me, my name is James Sanchez, and I'm a city councilman here in Hartford. I'm serving my second term. I'm in my 8th year right now. And I chose to run for council because I want to serve my community and help correct the issues that is, majority quality of life throughout the city. I'm born on July 1st at the old McCauley Hospital in the North End, and I resided on Ann Street when I was young, and then lived at 37 Burton Street after that. And I attended Barnard Brown School, Vine Street School, and then from there I transitioned into St. Joseph Cathedral and graduated from South Catholic High School at the time. So little bit about myself. So I was just speaking to Stan, and we were talking about different items here in the city and the way I grew up. I was raised over here in the North End. As I said, 37 Burton Street was the actual address. We stayed there for the longest. And my parish was Sacred Heart Church, which now does not exist. At that time, Sacred Heart Church had a youth group, which I think every church had, in basketball teams and cheerleaders and so forth. And it was a great experience, and I believe that we need to bring these youth group organizations back. And these youth groups were actually run by volunteers and the folks who were members, like myself. I learned some of my mechanic skills, working on the buses for the church, painting the buses, working on summer jobs, whether it's construction, painting, cleanup, what have you. And this is why I believe that we should bring youth groups back, because the experience, it teaches you responsibility, it builds character. Moving on, as a kid, my playground were basically abandoned buildings. I'm lucky, and as well as my cousins, lucky we're alive, because there was some dangerous situations that we thought was fun at that time. My family, a lot of my family grew up on what used to be called Kennedy Street, which is to the far left of where the Firestone facility used to be. My other background playground was the landfill. Plenty of us from the Sacred Heart Church youth group used to go into the landfill, collect bicycle frames, bicycle wheels, anything that has to do with bicycles, and then we'll bring it back to the church downstairs. We start building them together. We start, doing the mechanic works of that, and creating one bike out of probably 5 pieces of bikes. And then we turn around, we give it to the kids in the community. So, that was a great experience, helping these kids and see the smiles on their faces. Moving forward, my father, who came over here in the 1950s, didn't know English. He educated himself. Most people know him as Dolores Sanchez. My father was able to educate himself and landed, he and my mother met in the tobacco fields. My father's from Hormiguero, Puerto Rico, which is at the very far end of the west coast of Puerto Rico. My mother's from a place called Barranquita, and that's way up in the mountains in the central part of Puerto Rico. So if it wasn't the tobacco experience and work, they would have never met, and I wouldn't be here. So I'm very grateful of them meeting together. I have had a bad experience recently. I made my announcement to run for the state representative 6th Assembly District on the 30th of January, and unfortunately, I received a call the 31st, where I just lost my mom. So, that it's challenging right now. So I figure I just mentioned that. So, anyways, so my father did well for himself, and right across the street from the Dunkin' Donuts Stadium and the Kidney Clock Tower, it was filled with all kinds of buildings, and the Pleasant Street that exists there now didn't exist back then. My father was able to own 12 of those buildings, and back in 1980 he decided that the tenants and the taxes was just a bit too much for him, and so he sold everything and moved his family back to Puerto Rico. I stayed behind. I was one of those statistics. While still in high school, I had my first child. I still stayed going to school. At that time, I was living in Stowe Village, 87 Hampton Street, second floor. That also is a great experience for me. I do miss, Stowe Village, because it was a different type of unity. Even in Charter Oak, where my family also lived. And that unity, everyone would watch out for each other. There was a huge amount of respect. Your neighbor would respect each other. I mean, it was a great experience. And then while I lived in Stowe Village, I joined the Marines. And the reason why I joined the Marines is because I knew I was following the wrong path at that time. Living on my own, having kids, I had to somehow make ends meet. So I knew something was going to go wrong. So I decided, that life is not for me. And so I joined the Marines, and that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life. It helped me become more responsible, more disciplined, set goals, and follow through until I achieved those goals. I served 4 years in the Marines, and then 6 years after that as a reserve. My last duty station was Okinawa, Japan, and from there I came home. I landed a seasonal position at UPS, and from UPS I went on to Connecticut Transit. I was there for 11 years until I transitioned over to my present employer, the Metropolitan District, known as the MDC. I've been there going on 23 years now. When I first started the MDC, at that time, 23 years ago, is when I first met my wife, my now wife. I am divorced from my first wife. I have from there I have 2 beautiful children, a daughter and a son, and from there I have 3 beautiful grandchildren, 2 granddaughters and 1 grandson. So I met my beautiful wife, Jacqueline Nadal, and we're still together, and I'm happy about that. I feel blessed. I know God is watching over me because he brought this person into my life. She's my rock. So now I have lived in New Britain when I got out the Marine Corps, because housing was not affordable at that time for me. An apartment building for 3 bedrooms at that time was around $950 a month, and that was unaffordable to me. I'm sure it was unaffordable to many folks, at which time I found a place in New Britain for the same square footage for $420. That was affordable. And although I lived or had a place in New Britain, I was constantly in Hartford, practically 20 hours a day. I still slept in Hartford, still stayed in Hartford, even though I still had a place in New Britain. But then I permanently moved back into Hartford. I still say I'm a long-time Hartford resident because I never did leave Hartford. I had an opportunity once I left the Marine Corps. after I completed my contract. I could have moved to California, Mexico. There was plenty of job offers for me, but I chose to come back home. Connecticut, Hartford is my home, and that's it. It's my roots. I am a very proud Puerto Rican. I learned my culture. Both of my parents, as I mentioned earlier, are from Puerto Rico. I have friends who are not from Puerto Rico but born here, like myself. They're 100% very proud of their culture. They know their culture. We know why we wave our flags. We try to learn our Spanish. One of the things my father made sure that I learned was English as a second language. And then at one point, somehow, some way, English became my first language. Now I'm learning my Spanish as a second language. But still practicing. I kind of sometimes slaughter the language once in a while, but I still push on and speak the language. I try to help the community as a councilman, and it gives me a great feeling when I help someone in the community, whether it's individual or group or small business. My thing is, if they're successful, then I'm successful, because that's what I'm here for. It's not about me. It's about everyone else. God knows when to reward you. God knows when not to, and I feel I've been rewarded 100 times over. I continue to serve as a councilman. I'm in my 8th year, and I am looking to fill in the seat that our former state representative Ed Vargas has vacated. I congratulate him on his new venture. I feel that I have the experience. I feel that I have the know-how. I feel that I have the heart that's required to be a state representative, and I feel that I am the person that should be in that seat for the 6th Assembly District. I like to say that if and when I do win, because I don't take anything for granted, I will say that although I'll be the 6th District state representative, I'm still going to work for the entire city of Hartford. I just love Hartford. I still have family on Garden Street, Liberty Street. I still hang out there. Back in the days, I used to go to the West Indian Club all the time. They always had the, Gran Combo, Jafi, different types of bands playing their merengue and salsa, what have you. Great times. I still miss those times. I hope that the West Indian can start bringing those bands back in again. I am experienced, and I have lived throughout the city of Hartford. I am now settled in the South End in the 6th District, which also is a qualification if you're going to run for that section of the city. One of the things I like to bring into the South End, as well as the city as a whole, is more funding for revitalization, neighborhood revitalization. We need more funding to bring in and support more small businesses, but also to retain our small businesses. One of the issues that we have here in the city of Hartford is that it's roughly around 52% tax exempt. That hurts homeowners, and that hurts small businesses. So we need the funding to be able to create programs so that we can alleviate some of that burden. The city of Hartford is a great city. The city has so much to offer. We have the riverfront. We have the Elizabeth Park. We have the most beautiful parks throughout the city, the Colts Park, Polk Park, Highland Park. We have all these parks that also we need to be able to support our Department of Public Works with funding to create and create more jobs and hire more folks that are from the city to help retain and maintain those parks. We have a lot of folks that comes from outside of the city who has the benefit of enjoying these parks. I feel that our neighborhood towns should be able to give us some type of support as well for these parks, and not only for these parks, but everything that we have to offer. So if there's any questions for Stan, I may have missed something. I mean, it's a lot to say. I love my city. I bleed my city. So I'm out there. I will tell you that I'm not 100%, but I'm close to 100% of returning phone calls, of returning emails and texts. I'm a person that believe in responding. I'm a person that believe in communication. The fact of the matter is that I'll get upset if I reach out to you and I'm trying to help you and you're looking for my help, but yet you don't communicate with me. Then what will happen if I do the same? So I like to offer the same back, because I expect to receive a response as well. Whether I'm a councilman or not, I feel the communication is extremely important.
Your vision for the sixth district. Um, what what would you say is the greatest need, and how would you go about trying to fix that?
So right now, I believe that the greatest need is in the southeast corner of the sixth district, where you have Weathersfield Avenue, you have Franklin Avenue, and Broad Street as well, which is kind of halfway down the center of the south end. We have a lot of issues there. We have blighted properties. We have abandoned properties. There's a lot of prostitution going on. There's a lot of shooting. There's. I'm going to share this. So, one of the experience on being on council, you know, one of the things I've always heard is, folks from the north end states, listen, the south end's getting everything. They're getting this, and this, and then the south end says the same thing. The north end is getting everything. But the fact of the matter is, if you take a drive and you go to the south end and the north end and you compare, you're gonna realize it's both in the same. There's a lot of issues that is straight across the city. It's not a north and a south thing, and I really never liked using that north and south. It's almost like the rebel and the Yankees, right? This isn't that kind of situation. Situation is, we have blighted property straight across the city. We have prostitution straight across the city. We have abandoned properties. It's many issues, and it mirrors each other. So we need to be able to get together instead of working in silo, and let's address these properties. Let's take the most, prioritize which area we need to address. For example, in the north end, Blue Hills area, sort of, in the beginning, you have, as I said, the McCook Hospital. That's where I was born. When I graduated from high school, I actually went to the what they have a program called the Manpower. That's where I learned how to do machining on the Bridgeports, on the lathes, and then I landed a job at Arrowhead Tool Company on Berlin Turnpike. That's the kind of program that we need. But right now, that program used to be housed in the old McCook Hospital. Now the entire property is dilapidated, it's abandoned, there's nothing going on. So we have a group that came to council, was looking to try and leverage funding and the property so that they can develop it into a veterans clinic or veterans hospital, specifically for minorities, right? And I support that. One of the things that the city has done is they leverage approximately a little over $200,000 for their environmental study, which is extremely important before you can move forward. That will dictate if we can create a veterans hospital with housing, or can it be used for something other than that, because of the amount of contaminant. Because when it comes to the environmental and the contamination, you can either dig it out and eliminate it, or cap it. So if we can dig it out and it's affordable and we can eliminate, then we can move forward with housing and a hospital there, or a clinic. If we can only cap it, then that limits what we can do if it's housing or clinic or what or otherwise. Now that's one area, right? Now we have North Main Street. The Fuller building, it was purchased recently. That's a massive building there, massive parking lot. I think we can definitely leverage a significant number of affordable housing there. But then, of course, we have to help leverage and support the developer. Now let's move on to the south end, right? And I'm picking the most the the most the area that's most important to develop. So you have Weathersfield Avenue. Weathersfield Avenue has so many dilapidated property and abandoned property. Is very unfriendly to look at. The aesthetic of the area has devalued the businesses and other properties which are well kept. So these properties, you have, they're boarded up, but you have a lot of folks who are, addicted to certain drugs, and they actually take the board out. They live in there, they defecate in there, and they're even defecating in front of the Buckley High School and Burr School at one time, and we have to keep an eye on that. So those there's not only one property, there's several that it really tore down that part of the neighborhood. Then you have Franklin Avenue. That's another issue over there. With buildings becoming blighted, and we need the funding to retain those buildings and keep it from getting worse. And then we have an issue which is straight across the city. We have landlords who don't even live here in this city. They come from outside of the state. They purchase property. They turn around. They rent it. They put a very minimal amount of money to fix it up or clean it up, and then they walk away and they just collect the funds. This is not what we need here. We need to increase our home ownership. And also, we need to increase tenant-owned properties. So, if you was to purchase a 3-family house, we would expect you to live in one of those apartment buildings if we're going to support you with a program that hopefully soon will be coming out. I can't mention it right now, but it's definitely looking towards increasing home ownership in the city of Hartford with owner-occupied purchasers. So, going back to your question to complete it, sorry, I'm long-winded here. I like to get the funding to bring back those neighborhoods, revitalize those neighborhoods, whether it's a program, more funding for home ownership, occupy home ownership, whether it's a program similar to what our Mayor Luke Bronin had presented when there's business investment, where we give grants to help the facade, or they can hire employees, they can hire equipment. Another source of program I like to create is a funding to help start businesses, but also with a program where if you have no understanding on how to start a business, I like to take you by your hand and walk you through the entire process of starting a business, because it is challenging. It's challenging to start a business. It's challenging to know what permits you have to fill, whether it's at the municipal level or at the state level, because there's two different type of zoning and inspections and planning that you have to address. So it's somehow we need to streamline that process so that more people can come into the city comfortably with confidence that they know they can start a process and open up a business within 6 months, not a year or 2 years.
All right. How can people get in touch with you?
So I have an email right now, which is james.sanchez@hartford.gov, and that is my council email address. I also have my phone that you can call me direct. It's 860-422-3448. That'll be until March 3rd, and that number will change again. But I will, hopefully I can come back here and give new information on new emails and new phone numbers.
All right. So the current phone number, one last time.
860-422-3448.
All right. James Sanchez is running for the 6th District State Representative in a special election, which will be held February the 28th. That's Tuesday, February the 28th, special election. And for the record, his opponent was invited to do the same as he is doing now. Thank you for taking time out and joining us.
Stan, may I add something else?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot. I should have added this. So the 6th District Assembly is comprises from New Britain Avenue south, going towards Weathersfield and Newington, all the way down into the Elmwood part of West Hartford. Now, as you go up east, is Preston Street going south towards Weathersfield, and then it takes a turn on Weathersfield Avenue, and then it starts at Airport Road, and then Airport Road south towards Weathersfield, and then down at McDonald's at Maxim Road at the bottom of Airport Road. The Metropolitan District Wastewater Treatment Facility is in the 6th District. The Brandon Airport is also in the 6th District. And the Trash to Energy plant, which has been closed down, is also in the 6th District. So it's a good chunk of the south end of the city. And if you're a resident in that area, I'm asking you for your support. I'm asking you for your vote. Me gustaría que me apoyan y me gustaría que puedo contar en su voto para el día 28 de febrero. I'm looking for your support, and I'd like to count on your vote. The election is February 28, which is next Tuesday. It's approximately 5 days from now. Please come out and vote. I know there's a lot of people that are registered, but even though you're registered, you still have to come out and vote. Your vote does count. That one vote does count. Para ustedes, lo que quiere que lo digo en español, el día de las elecciones es febrero 28, el martes que viene, eso entre 5 días. Si estás registrado a votar, por favor, sale y vaya a votar, porque ese voto cuenta y ese voto puede traer fondos para la comunidad. That vote can bring the funding to our community. Thank you.